let's talk about the overseas ambitions of the group as well, Mr. Jindal. And on the steel side, what we have seen, especially even as far as your peer group is concerned, that there was a lot of enthusiasm with which steel companies looked outside of India and now are looking inwards and are looking at expanding inwards, including, of course, JSW. You've done a bunch of acquisitions, whether it is Monte Carlo or Bhushan Power and so on and so forth. I want to understand from you, over the next 10 years, how aggressively do you intend to chase overseas growth, overseas acquisitions, overseas play versus domestic?
So, Shireen, clearly today, as I said in the beginning, that India is the flavor of the world today, right? So, the whole world is looking at India, and India is the growth story for coming decades. So, for us to go and invest outside India when India itself gives us huge opportunity, I don't think that makes sense. When we invested in 2008-9 overseas, at that time, India was passing through a little bit of a lull phase, and we felt that we need to go outside India to gain experience, understand what's happening in the world market. And for that, we invested overseas, which did not go very well, but lately these assets have turned around and are doing well. But going forward, we are going to be focusing all our energies inwards in India. And we will be expanding our capacities, and mostly from brownfield and greenfield expansions rather than acquisitions, because most of the consolidation that was to happen has already happened, and what is left in the Indian market are very small steel companies, which we are not interested. Unless and until large public sector comes up for disinvestment, that would be another opportunity for us to acquire. But till then, we will be focused on our own growth.
Okay, so unless it's a large PSU that's on the block, you're not looking at acquisitions in any of your spaces within the domestic market. A contender like NMDC Steel, were that to materialize, would that be up for grabs?
Yeah, that could be a candidate, because it's a public sector undertaking. So, as I mentioned, it could be. We would take a look at it.
You talked about greenfield and brownfield expansion, Mr. Jindal. The combined cash on the books as of today, as of March 2023, stands at a little over 25,800 crores. What is the ambition now as far as expansion is concerned, given the fact that you believe that we are going to see significant growth from the current levels as the Indian economy, which is your bet, continues to grow?
So as we grow, as the country grows, country would need a huge amount of steel. The Steel Ministry, Government of India has projected that India would need close to 250 million tons of steel in next 7 years, from 120 million tons last year. So, which is over 100% growth. So, therefore, we being the leading steel company in India, we just to keep our market share, we at least will have to double our growth, double our capacity from today. And if we want to take a larger market share, we may have to even grow more than that. So, so that's a huge investment, and that calls for big projects that we will have to set up, because the country would need so much steel, and there aren't many steel companies which can grow that fast to meet the growing demand of India.
By when do you anticipate that you will be able to double, or in fact more than double, your capacity? And if you can leave me with a ballpark investment figure, because as you pointed out yourself, it will require significant capital. What could that mean, and potentially what's the time period that we're looking at for you to double capacity?
So, if you want to go into the numbers, right now we are at 28 million tons, and our idea is to go over 50 million tons by 2030. which means that we will be increasing our capacity by 40%, if not 50%, or if doubling. At least 40%, that means 23 million tons capacity we will be adding. The thumb rule in steel industry is that for every million tons, you have to invest at least $1 billion, if not more. So therefore, we are talking about close to $25 billion in the next 7 years.
$25 billion in the next 7 years, 50 million tons by 2030. That's the aspiration as far as the steel side is concerned. But if I may ask you about cement and paints, and specifically as far as paints is concerned, are you satisfied with the performance that you've been able to achieve? What's the target now, near term for FY24 and long term by 2030? And the cement side, a possible listing anytime soon?
So paint, as you said, that it's the consumer-facing business, and this is our first consumer-facing business in the group, and therefore whatever has been achieved is pretty satisfactory. I mean, I was not expecting that we will be doing that much, but the team has done an excellent job, and it's on its way, and it's doing very well. We are in fact doubling the capacity. There are already talks of building 2 more new paint plants in India. So therefore, that's a satisfactory progress. On cement, because JSW cement is a green cement, it uses a lot of slag from the steel plants and fly ash from our power plants. So therefore, it's a very natural fit that cement business is, and it's kind of doing very well. It's growing and keeping the pace with our other business growths. So therefore, both the businesses are doing well. On the IPO for cement, there is a plan both for the infra and for cement to do IPO over the next couple of years. And if environment is good, probably we'll do the IPO of cement as well.
Okay, let me ask you about paints, just coming back to that, because I believe that the internal target is to grab a 10% market share by FY26, on course to do that. And you also talked about adding capacity. Is that also just going to be greenfield, or are you looking at potential acquisitions on the paint side?
No, mostly it will be greenfield expansion, because paint side acquisitions are, I don't know if there are any great opportunity in the paint industry for acquisition. So it would be mostly greenfield projects.
Okay,
and you asked me about the
expansion.
10%.
Yes, 10% market share, sir.
Go ahead, Shireen. Yeah. So yeah, no, that is an ambition. That ambition one must have, and therefore the team is highly charged and are really working to get to the 10% market share by 2026.
Okay. You talked about significant investment and expansion plans across each of your different businesses involving billions of dollars. Just for steel, as you pointed out, $25 billion by 2030 is the expectation in terms of investments. If I were to take a look at the aggregate debt of JSW Steel and Energy, it's at about 1.06 lakh crores. Up from 50,000 crores in FY18. Would you need to take on a significant additional debt to be able to fund these expansion and investment plans?
So I don't know whether these debt numbers are correct. Is it the net debt or is it gross debt? But anyway, or whatever it is, you must have checked, I'm sure. The steel business will not increase the net debt position. It will remain more or less in the ballpark. And whereas the energy business, because the renewable energy is a utility business and it's an infrastructure business where the debt equity ratios are always levered. So therefore, we will probably have more debt as we grow our renewable business.
You know, Mr. Jindal, I read out the citation that was part of the presentation when you were awarded the EY Entrepreneur of the Year award, and it talked about how you've been able to adeptly manage complex, large projects. I want to understand from you, through the course of your career of greenfield expansion, taking on distressed assets and integrating them into the business, what have been the key learnings? What has been the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome? But what's also been the most significant learning for you as an entrepreneur?
So building greenfield large project is always very challenging, and it encompasses every facet of life. And building a steel plant from scratch is a very tough ask. But it was a journey where we went through ups and downs and difficulties and lots of enjoyment. So it was very interesting, and I, being a technical person, I really enjoyed every moment of building the steel plant. On acquiring stress assets and converting them into profitable ventures is a different ballgame. That doesn't call for that kind of hard work or that kind of dedication, because that's easier. It's an already existing site with existing infrastructure.
Well, Mr. Jindal, thanks very much for joining us. You've given us several headlines there. The big one, of course, is expansion and investments across different businesses, doubling of steel capacity by 2030 to 50 million tons, with an estimated investment of over $25 billion, doubling capacity in the paints business, possibly 2 IPOs for the cement and the infrastructure business, and the big one, consumer play, battery manufacturing, and potentially a deal with an electric mobility player, could even be MG Motors. That is a confirmation coming in there from Sajjan Jindal as he takes on 40+ other entrepreneurs from different parts of the world at the EY World Entrepreneur of the Year Awards. From all of us here for now, thanks very much for watching.